They said it was impossible, that the US could carry $37 trillion in debt and somehow stay afloat. But what if that debt was never meant to be paid back in the first place? What if the entire structure of the modern dollar was designed to collapse from the inside, to erase itself through a digital transformation that the public would never fully understand until it was far too late? The whispers now flooding through financial circles suggest that this is no longer speculation but strategy, a plan quietly engineered by the very system that created the problem. A plan to use technology itself as the weapon that will rewrite the meaning of money. Imagine a government that realises it can never pay its bills, that interest payments alone eat more than it collects in taxes, and imagine that same government discovering a way to flip a single switch and make that burden vanish without ever saying the word default. That's what this leaked theory points to. A coordinated operation to dump the weight of $37 trillion through what insiders are calling a crypto reset. A reset that would appear like innovation, like progress, like a digital miracle, when in truth it would be the largest financial erasure in human history. Most people cannot even picture how large that number truly is. 37 trillion is a stack of $1 bills stretching past the moon. It equals more than $280,000 for every household in the nation. No working person, no generation could ever repay it. Rome tried printing its way out of debt by shaving the silver from its coins until the coins became worthless. Britain tried devaluing its pound by half after the war and lost its empire. The United States is reaching that same mathematical wall, only this time it has a new tool, one invisible, instantaneous and controllable, the digital dollar. The story begins quietly, not with a speech, not with an act of Congress, but with a series of pilot programs, research labs and innovation projects run by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, all under harmless names like modernization or efficiency. Yet behind those words lies a question no one dares to answer publicly. How do you erase debt without triggering collapse? The old methods cannot work anymore. Raising taxes would crush the economy. Cutting spending would implode social systems. Growth cannot keep up with the compounding interest. Even if the country produced miracles of productivity for decades, the math would still drown it. So the only path left is to change the definition of the dollar itself. That's the secret at the core of the leak. Don't pay the debt. Transform the money it's written in. Create a new digital ledger. Swap every existing note for a token. Then quietly reduce the value of each token until the numbers on the government's books make sense again. The citizens will still see dollars in their accounts, but those dollars will not buy what they used to. The difference disappears into code. The debt dissolves and the illusion of stability remains. But to make such a transformation believable, there must first be a bridge, and that bridge already exists in the form of stablecoins. These are the so-called digital dollars circulating through crypto markets, each one supposedly backed by real US assets. The genius, or the danger, is that for every stablecoin issued, the issuer buys US government bonds as collateral. That means every expansion of crypto liquidity directly increases demand for US debt. It looks like free market innovation, but it acts like a silent bailout machine. When foreign nations stop lending to America, crypto steps in to take their place. The cycle feeds itself. New coins create new demand for treasuries. Treasuries support the currency, and the currency sustains the illusion of solvency. For now, it works beautifully. But according to the leaked plan, this arrangement is only the first phase, a rehearsal for the larger conversion still to come. Because the endgame is not about private stablecoins at all. It's about replacing them, and the cash in your bank account, with a single official digital currency controlled entirely by the state. A central bank digital currency, or CBDC, that behaves like crypto on the surface, but operates under absolute authority beneath it. The infrastructure is nearly ready. The code exists. The networks are being tested under the pretext of safety and modernization. The missing piece is not technology, but timing. How do you convince hundreds of millions of people to surrender their paper money and their bank balances for a government app on their phone? History tells us the answer is always the same: crisis. Just a little break. I opened a free Telegram community where I teach how to earn money with YouTube and build channels like the one you're watching. If you want to understand how to do it, there's the link below. Back to before. The document describes it almost clinically. A sudden digital event. Banks temporarily offline. Payments failing. ATMs freezing. Screens flashing error. Within hours, panic spreads. Within days, the government announces an emergency solution. A secure digital currency. Fast, safe, immune to hacking. People accept it out of desperation, not trust. Transactions resume. Markets reopen. Calm returns. The crisis ends. On the surface. But the money is no longer the same. It is code, and code can be rewritten. The government now controls not just monetary policy, but individual balances. With one directive, it can freeze, limit, or expire funds. With another, it can adjust the conversion rate between old and new dollars. Inflation becomes programmable. Value itself becomes fluid. And in that fluidity lies the perfect erasure of debt. This is how the reset works in practice. Instead of defaulting on $37 trillion, the system dilutes it. The new digital dollar enters circulation with a hidden inflation curve coded into its supply. Prices rise subtly at first, then faster, until the real burden of the debt shrinks. On paper, the government owes the same amount, but those dollars are worth half, a third, a tenth of what they once were. The debt evaporates in real terms, transferred silently to the citizens whose savings lose power every day. It's the oldest trick in finance. Inflate away your obligations. But wrapped in the newest technology humanity has ever seen, and this time it cannot be stopped because there will be no physical escape. In past inflations, people could hold gold, cash, or foreign currency. In a fully digital system, every transaction passes through one network. If you try to move money abroad, it can be flagged. If you hold too much, it can be taxed automatically. If you spend in ways the algorithm disapproves of, your account can be restricted. It's control disguised as modernization. The reset doesn't only erase debt, it erases privacy, autonomy, and choice. You can already see the preparation in motion. Central banks are hoarding gold at a pace not witnessed in half a century. They know what's coming. Gold is the last anchor outside the code, the one form of money that cannot be rewritten. Meanwhile, countries once loyal to the dollar are quietly stepping back. China, Japan, and even allies in Europe have reduced their holdings of US treasuries. They're not saying it publicly, but their actions speak loudly. They no longer trust the American promise to repay in full value. They sense the reset and are positioning themselves for the aftermath. Inside the US, officials speak of innovation and inclusion. They say the digital dollar will make payments faster, safer, more efficient. They never mention what happens to purchasing power, to personal control, to the massive national debt that suddenly seems manageable once the conversion begins. They don't have to. The majority of people won't question it. They'll be too relieved that the system works again, that the screens light up, that the crisis is over. The plan depends on that relief, on the collective sigh that follows panic. Because once people accept the new system, they'll never go back. The old dollar will fade like paper in the rain, and the reset will be complete, and the effects will ripple through everything. The stock market will surge, not because companies are more valuable, but because the units of measurement are smaller. Real estate will climb to unimaginable levels. Wages will lag behind. Ordinary savers will find that what once bought a month of groceries now buys a week. The rich holding tangible assets will watch their net worth multiply. The poor holding digital credits will wonder why their effort buys less each year. The gap will widen until the new hierarchy hardens into place. Inflation will be called growth. The reset will be called recovery. Think of it as the greatest illusion ever staged. A national bankruptcy presented as a technological breakthrough. The government will claim victory. The markets will cheer. And yet, underneath, The same pattern that ended every empire will unfold again, only this time with algorithms instead of emperors. The debt will vanish, but so will the meaning of money. If this leak is true, we are standing on the edge of that transition right now. Every new headline about digital payments, every statement about financial innovation, every minor banking outage could be a rehearsal. The pieces are lined up, the narrative prepared. Modernization, efficiency, safety. All that remains is the moment when the public's fear outweighs its skepticism. One blackout, one hack, one panic, and the switch can be thrown. The system will reset, the screens will blink back to life, and the world will continue. But the dollar you knew will not. And maybe that's the most chilling part of all, because when this happens, there will be no announcement, no warning, no vote. It will feel like just another software update. You'll wake up, check your balance, and everything will look the same. Same numbers, same account, same digital glow. But something deep beneath those numbers will have changed forever. The $37 trillion problem will be gone, the ledger will be clean, and every saver, every retiree, every worker will have unknowingly paid the price. The plan is elegant. It's quiet. It's already unfolding. And unless people start seeing beyond the surface, beyond the words modernization and security, they'll never realize that the reset has begun until it's irreversible. They will tell you it was progress, that the transition was necessary, that the world had evolved beyond paper and plastic, beyond banking as we knew it. They will say it was inevitable, that digital currency was the natural next step, and that anyone who resists is standing in the way of innovation. But the truth buried beneath that polished narrative is that the reset was never about efficiency. It was about survival. The government's survival, the financial system's survival, the elite's survival. The plan was designed to look like evolution, but operate like escape. Because by the time the switch was flipped, the United States had already crossed the point of no return. $37 trillion of debt had become an unmovable weight, a ticking time bomb under the global economy, and the only way to defuse it was to make everyone share the explosion. The only way to survive to only this is understanding that YouTube is on easy mode now, and it's blowing up any small channel that does things right, as I teach you in my free Telegram community with the link below. The reset begins quietly. The new digital dollar spreads across banks, payrolls, and social payments. Within months, physical cash is described as inefficient, risky, even dangerous. Stores start refusing it. ATMs become obsolete. The new system is faster, simpler, impossible to counterfeit, and, as the officials claim, completely safe. Every transaction now happens through the government's central ledger. Every purchase leaves a permanent trace. Taxes calculate automatically. Mistakes vanish. Fraud plummets. The people celebrate efficiency. But efficiency, in this new order, means visibility. Every transaction is seen, every pattern analysed, every deviation questioned. The entire economy has become one living organism under surveillance. At first, no one notices the change in value. Prices rise slowly, so slowly that the data appears normal. The media calls it transitional inflation, the predictable friction of innovation. Then the rises accelerate. Groceries cost 10% more, then 20%. Housing prices explode. The cost of living doubles within a few years. Wages can't keep up. Savings accounts still showing the same numbers, buy less with each passing month. The government blames global instability, supply chain disruptions, weather events, anything but the design. And still the people trust, because the digital dollar feels stable. The screens don't lie. The numbers stay fixed. It's only reality that shifts beneath them. Behind the curtain, the $37 trillion debt melts away. Every uptick in inflation erases a little more of it. What was once owed in hard dollars is now repaid in soft ones, shrinking in real value every day. The burden transfers from the government to the population, from the Treasury's books to the people's wallets. It's the cleanest heist ever conceived, invisible, silent, justified by technology. The economy on paper begins to heal, growth returns, the deficit shrinks. The world marvels at America's resilience, unaware that the cost was extracted not from industry or trade, but from ordinary citizens whose purchasing power has been quietly sacrificed. In the financial world, the effects are immediate. The wealthy, who saw it coming, move their holdings into assets that thrive on inflation. Real estate, commodities, equities, anything tied to hard value. Their wealth multiplies, the markets boom. The headlines speak of a new golden age, but the middle class holding cash, bonds or pensions denominated in old dollars sees their security evaporate. Retirements planned over decades crumble in years. Insurance funds collapse under the weight of shrinking currency. The people who followed the rules, who saved, who believed in the system, discover they have financed their own losses. Outside America, the shockwaves spread. The dollar, still the world's reserve, now exists in two realities. Digital, within its borders, diluted abroad. Countries that once trusted US treasuries as their safe haven begin to panic. Some dump their holdings, others scramble to create alternatives. Trade blocs form. The BRICS nations accelerate their own digital currencies. Gold re-emerges as a settlement medium for the first time in generations. Central banks, already hoarding it, start marking its price to new highs. A parallel system forms. One based on tangible assets, one based on code. For a brief moment, the world splits in two. Then comes the unthinkable. The United States, under the guise of economic stabilization, proposes a global adoption framework for its new digital dollar. A universal standard, a unified payment network. The offer sounds generous. Instant settlements, reduced fees, anti-fraud protections. But hidden in the fine print is the clause that binds. Participation requires synchronization with the Federal Reserve System. Every country that joins must peg its digital currency to the US model. Independence dissolves into integration. Control radiates outward, invisible but absolute. Within a few years, nearly every major economy is connected. The reset is no longer national, it's planetary. Money, for the first time in history, has a single master switch. Every government that joins believes it's gaining access to technology. In truth, it's surrendering sovereignty. The US, once buried in debt, now controls the rails of global trade. The crisis that could have destroyed its dominance becomes the very tool that extends it. But power built on manipulation never stays stable for long. The cracks appear fast. Inflation, meant to be contained, becomes uncontrollable. The more money circulates, the less it buys. The code, designed to regulate supply, begins to falter under human interference. Politicians tweak parameters to appease voters. Bureaucrats adjust algorithms to favour industries. Black markets emerge for pre-reset assets. Gold, silver, physical goods, even cash, now banned but still treasured. A new economy forms in the shadows, defying the digital order. As the instability grows, governments turn to enforcement. Digital identification merges with currency accounts. Access to money becomes conditional. Step out of line, post the wrong opinion, attend the wrong protest, refuse the wrong mandate, and your funds freeze. Travel restrictions tie into spending permissions. The system evolves from monetary reform into behavioural control. People whisper, afraid of being flagged. Fear becomes the new currency. Compliance buys convenience. Dissent buys poverty. The promise of safety turns into a cage made of code. Yet in every cage, cracks appear. Whistleblowers leak data. Anonymous programmers publish the algorithms behind the inflation curve. Documents surface showing how the reset was planned years before the crisis that forced it. Slowly, the public begins to understand that the new system was never a rescue. It was a reset engineered to protect the ruling structure. Outrage spreads. Movements rise. Some demand a return to physical money. Others flee into decentralized cryptocurrencies, creating underground networks that operate beyond state control. The war for the future of money begins, fought not with weapons but with code, data, and belief. The US, seeing its dominance threatened, doubles down. It introduces smart taxation, automatic deductions coded directly into every transaction. It enforces expiration dates on currency to stimulate spending. It punishes hoarding by reducing the value of idle balances. Inflation becomes policy, not accident. Every financial act becomes an act of obedience. The system tightens. Control perfects itself. But as history shows, no empire, digital or otherwise, can sustain control forever. Eventually, the people adapt. They learn to transact off-grid. They trade goods, services, and knowledge directly. Gold and silver coins reappear in hidden markets. Private cryptos multiply in secret. The state chases them endlessly, never catching up. Every measure of control breeds a countermeasure. Every restriction creates resistance. And somewhere in that chaos, a new equilibrium forms. The official economy, polished and monitored, continues for those who submit. The underground one, messy and untraceable, grows for those who refuse. The reset achieves its goal. The debt is gone. The government survives. But the price is a permanent fracture in society. Two realities, two economies, two worlds. One built on surveillance, the other on defiance. The leak warns that this division is not an accident, but an outcome. The planners predicted it. They accepted it. In their view, control over half the population is better than chaos among all of them. The reset was never meant to save everyone. It was meant to stabilize the elite's foundation. They would lose control of some parts, but maintain dominance over the most important, the flow of digital capital. And with that, they could rebuild the system again, as they always do. But not everyone in power agrees. Some within the machine are horrified. Economists, analysts, even a few central bankers begin leaking data, sending encrypted files to journalists and researchers. They warn that the inflation model is failing faster than expected, that the global economy cannot handle the synthetic money supply. They warn that the next crisis will not be digital, but human. A breakdown of trust so deep that no algorithm can repair it. And that is the final phase of the reset, the one no one intended, but everyone feared. When trust collapses, money itself becomes meaningless. The digital dollar, the proud invention of the reset, becomes just another code people refuse to believe in. The government tries to enforce value by decree, by law, by punishment. But faith cannot be programmed. The more they push, the faster it breaks. Hyperinflation, once unthinkable, returns, not through printing presses, but through data. The system that erased $37 trillion now erases confidence, the one thing money depends on most. As the global economy fractures, nations retreat to what they can hold: land, resources, metals, human labour. Gold becomes priceless again, silver follows. Decentralised cryptos become digital lifeboats, volatile but free. Trade reverts to smaller networks, regional alliances, and direct exchange. The great digital empire that promised perfect efficiency dissolves into noise, leaving behind a world that remembers too late what true value was built upon. And yet, even as the structure crumbles, the architects of the reset achieve their goal. The debt is gone, the ledgers are clean, the blame is diffused across millions of anonymous accounts. The people bear the cost, scattered and divided, too exhausted to rebel. The government proclaims success, history rewrites itself, and the next generation grows up believing the reset was a necessary evolution, not a manipulation. The leak ends with a warning, a single paragraph almost lost in the technical jargon. It says, when a nation's money becomes code, its citizens become data. And when citizens become data, freedom ends not with violence but with updates. That is the true nature of the reset, not the destruction of wealth, but the transformation of people into inputs, each transaction a record of obedience. So if this plan is real, if the signals now flashing across the markets and the halls of power are part of it, then the greatest danger is not that the dollar collapses, but that it survives, reprogrammed, redesigned, unrecognizable. The real catastrophe is not economic, it's human. Because once a society accepts money that can be switched off, it has already given away everything that money was meant to protect. Independence, choice, dignity, the ability to say no. And perhaps that's why this information was leaked in the first place. Maybe someone inside saw what was coming and refused to let it unfold in silence. Maybe this was the last warning before the switch is pulled, before the next crisis forces the final step. Because when that happens, there won't be a second chance. The reset will not announce itself. It will arrive like a software update, invisible, irreversible, final. And when you wake up and check your balance, the numbers will still be there. But the world they belong to will be gone. But it will not be gone for those who subscribe to Economy Strategist. Smash that subscribe and like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I also want to remind you that if you want to build a YouTube channel like the one you're watching now and make money from it, I opened a free Telegram community with the link below. See you there or in the next video. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.